This presentation takes a look at how our existing system of public revenue actually threatens the life-supporting capacity of our planet and offers a real solution for consideration. The signs are, to many of us, clear. Human activity is reducing at an accelerating rate the life-supporting capacity of our planet. Solutions must be found before we pass the point of no return. As the number of humans increases year by year, the demands on the planet's resources increases. By the year 2100, the planet's human population is projected to reach 10.9 billion. The question I raise is whether we are organized in a manner able to support this number of people. Will we have the resources to provide the goods for a decent human existence for this expanding population? A key question vigorously debated is whether the problem is one of scarce, finite natural resources, or that resources are inequitably distributed. It must be acknowledged, of course, that the resources of nature are not uniformly distributed. Every location on the planet comes with differing opportunities and challenges. We instinctively tend to occupy those regions where the advantages provided by nature are many and the prospects for survival and prosperity are high, such as those existing where the city of Philadelphia was established and grew. For almost all of our history, people have migrated in pursuit of better circumstances or for actual survival, whether because the bounty of nature was taken away or because societal organization put the lives of many people at risk. Today, every government tries to protect its national borders, limiting the number of people permitted to enter. The reasons offered are many. An economic reason has to do with the general assertion that resources are scarce. New arrivals, some argue, compete with the existing population for employment, for housing, for education, for medical care, and other scarce societal goods. Taxpayers rightly ask, where will the money come from to pay for the needed and desired public goods and services? All across the United States, boroughs, towns, cities, school districts, townships, and counties face difficult decisions in the face of limited revenue and voter opposition to ever-rising taxes. At the same time, there is widespread recognition that a disconnect exists between our systems of law, taxation, and public policy, and our commitment to achieve sustainable use of the land and natural resources upon which we all depend. What follows is an argument for changes in how government raises revenue, changes that will result in much more efficient and sustainable use of the land and nature as a whole. I begin with some basic economics. Every parcel or tract of land has some potential annual rental value. Market forces, influenced by law, by taxation, and by public policy, determine what this value will be at any moment in time. Natural advantages such as climate, topography, soil fertility, subsurface mineral deposits, beachfront or riverfront location, or annual rainfall determine why some tracts of land, including the seabeds, have greater rental value than others. New technologies also play a role in the increasing of the rental value of land, as when new solar panel technology makes it feasible to construct solar farms in the hot desert, where nature provides the energy of the sun free of charge. Land, marginal and almost worthless for centuries, suddenly takes on a rising rental value. The same dynamic applies where strong and steady wind is available to drive the turbines that produce electricity. Another dramatic example of changing land use and resulting increases in the rental value of land is what happened when the state of New Jersey authorized casino gambling in Atlantic City. Even before the first casino began operation in 1978, the asking price for land parcels even outside the areas zoned for casinos climbed to prices that prevented profitable development for any other use. Speculators replaced actual developers in competition for the best located sites. In the communities where most of us reside, the early natural advantages that attracted migrants have long ago been supplanted by advantages attached to a combination of an increased population density that creates demand for locations on which to live, work, and play, and the aggregate and ongoing expenditures to create and maintain public goods and services. Laws and public policies also directly affect the rental value of locations. These include land use plans, zoning, height restrictions, building codes, setback requirements, allocation of space for off-street parking, air and water pollution controls, tax abatements, construction subsidies, and special licensing requirements to conduct certain types of activities, such as selling alcoholic beverages or operating a taxi service. Almost everyone intuitively understands the market dynamics at work where land is concerned. A fundamental economic relationship exists between the potential rental value of a location and what sellers ask in price should they be willing to sell. This dynamic is described by the term market capitalization. Here is how this works. Assume that a parcel of land could be leased for $10,000 a year and that the market is yielding an average rate of return on investments of 5%. In this example then, $10,000 equals 5% of the minimum price an owner would accept at that time, or $200,000. Of course, if the rental value of that particular location is increasing at a higher rate, the owner would seek some premium above the current market price or simply wait until a high enough offer is made. Many keen observers, including the great political economist and moral philosopher Adam Smith, noted that increases in the rental value of locations occurred independent of what an owner did or did not do to improve the location. This led Smith and others to call for the collection of this rent to pay for the cost of public goods and services. Thomas Paine, in Agrarian Justice, was one of the first to suggest that some portion of the rent fund should be returned to each person as a form of annual income supplement. Adam Smith argued the case by first noting the passive role of the landowner as landowner. Adam Smith wrote, "As soon as the land of any country has all become private property, the landlords, like all other men, love to reap where they never sowed and demand a rent even for its natural produce." What Adam Smith told his readers is that individual owners of land do not create the value of the locations held. As explained earlier, the combination of demand associated with population growth as well as the aggregate investment in infrastructure and public services gives value to locations. Generally speaking, where towns and cities are concerned, the more central the location, the higher the rental value. As Adam Smith and successive generations of later political economists tried to teach us, the public policy solution is to require those who hold land to turn over to the community the full rental value of whatever land is held. Many added that the value of buildings should be appropriately left untaxed. This system is generally referred to as land value taxation. The conventional form of property taxation actually imposes a strong penalty on the owner of buildings, assets that depreciate each year and require constant expenditures just to maintain efficient use. As Adam Smith and successive generations of later political economists tried to teach us, the public policy solution is to require those who hold land to turn over to the community the full rental value of whatever land is held. Many added that the value of buildings should be appropriately left untaxed. This system is generally referred to as land value taxation. The conventional form of property taxation actually imposes a strong penalty on the owners of buildings, assets that depreciate each year and require constant expenditures just to maintain efficient use. The annual tax paid on a building, an asset actually produced by the labor of people, equates to a sales tax imposed year after year after year. How would you react to such a tax on your automobile, your computer, your telephone, or your television? In many communities across the United States, property assessments on buildings are not reduced as values fall. One by one, owners defer maintenance and allow buildings to be condemned, boarded up, or just collapse. At the other end of property markets with rising land values, assessments are rarely adjusted upwardly to track the market. Thus, vacant land in high-value locations is very much undertaxed. This makes vacant land attractive for speculation. The outcome everywhere is land parcels left vacant for years or even decades. Worsening urban and suburban blight, sprawling developments surrounding every U.S. city, and widespread protests against property taxes generally. Now let's look at what happens when the full annual rental value of our land parcel is turned over to the community. The net rental value kept by the owner is now zero. Thus, there is no imputed or actual income stream to be capitalized into a potential selling price. With this tax structure universally applied, land prices will fall to very low levels. Theoretically, they could fall to zero. Every owner of land in the community would then have a strong financial incentive to bring the land held to its highest, best permitted use, or sell to someone who will. The potential to profit from speculating in land by holding it off the market is removed. Owners who hold onto land for no other reason than the cost of doing so is so low would also begin to consider how to offset the increased tax obligation by generating revenue by job-creating investment. Untaxing buildings rewards investment in new construction and property renovation, bringing development and population to where societal infrastructure exists to support a dense population and helping to curb sprawl. When our communities become places where people can live, work, and play, the pressure for development on outlying regions will level off and eventually subside, saving open space, animal habitat, land for food production, and recreation and wilderness. The people of Portland, Oregon tried to stem growth by imposing artificial boundaries. A serious side effect was to drive up the price of land and therefore all properties within the city well beyond what many households and businesses could absorb. This collage of photographs shows where we are today. With the revamped system of property taxation, the existing pattern of development would be altered consistent with sustainability objectives. Over time, we might just experience some land return to agricultural use or even open space. Mason Gaffney, perhaps the most knowledgeable U.S. economist specializing in the study of land markets and tax policies, summarized the steps necessary to tame our land markets. He wrote, "To be effective as a brake on periodic land booms, A tax on land values must be high enough to offset the expected growth of land values, which is the basis for rising prices in the market. We should look at the taxation of land values as the key to damping the wide oscillations in the real estate cycle. Because land is underassessed and buildings are overassessed, an improved system of assessment that corrects those biases would have an effect quite similar to shifting the tax rate from buildings to land. Professor Gaffney's message is clear. More Band-Aid measures will not achieve the needed outcomes. Future generations will be paying an enormous price for our inaction to deal with the flaws in our systems of law, taxation, and public policy in our relationship with the land. Thank you.